Hey, there we are.
So my name is Christian Ruppe. I am currently the VP of Digital Banking at Horicon Bank. But our story starts well before that. So, I started a company, probably 6 years ago now. Whole purpose was to try to automate saving, help people become financially stable. And through the journey, we started as B2C, got an investment and got into the venture center accelerator with FIS. And through that process, we decided to move to B2B. And that was something that was very foreign to us, me and my co-founder, Jared Kopelman. So fortunately, we got a lot of good advice, and a lot of that came from these guys at FedFis, from introductions, helping us kind of meet people in the core banking space, as well as the great data that you guys actually have. And then just general, advice on how to actually run a company like this. But FedFis is a company that will always live very fondly in mine and Jared's heart. And we will always appreciate how it got us to where we are today and how it got us through the times that we were having early on in those days as well.
How much did you pay him to say all that?
I'll be waiting on my check.
Well, one of the things I wanted to kind of get through to everybody listening today, whether it's bankers or whether it's innovators that are looking at these things, you've joined a small group of people. And I told you that when we talked on the phone. He's like, what do you mean? And I said, there's a hell of a lot of people out there that know both sides of this fence, that have been an innovator creating a product, a FinTech product, and trying to bring that to banking, and now actually a banker. So if you walked into the room 10 years ago and talked to you now, what would you say?
Yeah. No, it's a tough one. There's a million things I would say. And that's the fun part about getting to talk to FinTechs now is, them asking questions like that of, well, how should I do this? How should I do that? There's a million things that, based off of where they're at. Starting where I would say a big thing is just knowing, not trying to oversell. I think the big thing is, as a FinTech company, we're thinking, oh, this is so cool. Like, can you imagine if someone implemented this and they did this correctly and went after this market? But that's not how banks are typically thinking. They're thinking, I have this problem. I need to solve this problem. I've been in a couple of demos with FinTech companies that we were looking to use at Horicon Bank. And, they started with something that was super cool and so advanced, but for us, it was like, that's cool. Maybe we can get into that, but I'm trying to solve this problem right now. If you can solve this problem for me and then show me how your product can go beyond that and make that even easier, then we can talk.
What are you seeing, Christian, on the Horicon side? I remember them being definitely more innovative than your average institution by a lot. What do you guys do different to roll at a faster pace like you do?
Well, there's a lot that goes into it. I think the biggest thing is just an agreed vision. When I came on, the first 3 months was just meeting with every single person that I could inside the bank, and then sat down. I put together my vision for a digital transformation, and then worked with my partner, Josh, who came over with me from Monado. And then we updated a little bit, and then we met with Mark and the team, and edited a little bit, kind of put together that roadmap of just, this is where we want to get, these are the steps to get there. And we just kind of picked off the ones that we knew were going to get embraced by the team. Horicon Bank we are extremely innovative, and that's because there are people in the bank that really want to do it. It's not about money. It's not about moving up. We just have fun playing with this stuff and seeing, banks have so much data, and while that's good for being more efficient, it's also just fun to compete against yourself almost. How can we improve this number? How can we grow here? And we found the people inside the bank that really get behind that idea. And so for us, it's just been, all right, I'm currently implementing probably 5 huge products, from CRM to online account opening to chat for a website with live bankers, and that's just a couple of them. And that's because each one of those projects has multiple people inside the bank that are passionate about it and are working with me to get it going. And Yeah, it's just fun for us, I think. One of the things that I pushed, one of our goals was we had about 32% coverage on products that you could apply for online when I came on. We're now up to 72 and we're hoping to be at 100, in the next 6 months. And one of the big pushbacks was, I don't know if we should really invest in checking and saving account applications for businesses. They want to meet with a banker. They want, feedback. They want to talk about it, figure out the right products. And my argument was, most of our businesses are someone like me and you, and we want to open up an account. We probably don't want to talk with someone. If we do, we want that to be easy and accessible, which it is already. And so ultimately, we found a product that was the right price point, and I, said that I would be the one that implemented it and got it through. And as soon as we launched it, 33% of the amount of accounts we were opening, 33% immediately, without us pushing it, without us sending an email, now online.
You could almost come down with a blanket approach and just say, we're going to make everything available online. That's like a whole new methodology by which to think, right? And it's that cool stuff that you learn. I just think it's great.
We actually changed our bank a couple of years ago to a community bank that would allow an unlimited remote deposit capture. And I thought, well, that was, back at that time was like unheard of, which was so cool. Yeah. And then, so that eliminated a lot of hassle on my team. And then we just last week decided to open a secondary business account with them. And again, every bit of this, I don't even know where the bank is. I'd have to put it on a Google map and try to find my way to where it's located. We're in Austin, right? But I've never even been to that bank. I've never dealt with anybody directly there. It's all been through DocuSign and different things to set everything up. And so can it be done even on a business side? Sure it can. Oh, yeah. For 3 days. I don't care. I even had a secondary signature person on this other account, which complicates things significantly in opening a business account. Sure. And it took an extra day, maybe. They had to fill out a little form, and it took seconds for them to do it.
Doesn't take us an extra day.
Nice.
That's great. Cool. So can it be done, and can we control the business side? And I think everybody would agree that, small business is the heart and soul of community banking, where it needs to be and where it needs to stay.
Yeah. We're obviously numbers guys, always tracking numbers. The fintechs, the vendors, every technology and banking, that's where we live on numbers. That's where everybody lives on numbers. What are you tracking at the bank side? What numbers do you track? What are the key KPIs that you're after relating to technology?
So that's a lot of what we're figuring out right now, to be honest. When I came on, on the fintech side, you're just told, banks have all this data. It's so powerful. The stuff I could do with that data, it excites you. And then you get in the bank and it's, oh man, they have all this data, but it's in 8 different places and none of them look the same. And it's a lot more complicated than it sounds. And that's one of our number one priorities for 2022 is building out a data warehouse, normalizing all data that goes into it from every one of our systems. And we're putting something on top of it to be able to analyze and track those things. Something I'm very interested in tracking, which we currently don't have the ability to track just due to this issue, is lifetime value and how much our customers actually worth to us. I'll never forget one of the first fintechs that came and pitched us when I came onto the bank was basically just straight up said, we can get you customers for X dollars. And we talked it out. And then afterwards I asked the executives, so is that a good deal? How much are our customers worth? And the answer was, we think it's a good deal. We're not fully sure, but and I was like, oh man, we don't know the exact number. And that's when it kind of clicked that I needed to dive more into the data. So I think, that's a big thing. We want to be able to track how much a customer is worth across each one of our products. And then how much we're spending on those customers. That's, kind of a basic, e-com, any kind of business looks at that. I want to look at that for the bank because we're renovating, so to speak, the way that we do our marketing. It was a lot of billboards and magazines and things like that. We're completely relooking at that, going data first. If it's not bringing in customers, we're not going to do it. Making people kind of prove that it's bringing in customers. And so I want to be able to say to the marketing team, we can spend X dollars per sign up of this account. So think of the craziest marketing campaigns you can think of. Think of the craziest, go walk down the street, whatever it is that you want to do to get customers. As long as you were spending less than X dollars, then do it as much as you want.
And here's what I think is so interesting in this, because we deal with a whole lot of the companies that work with internal data inside of the bank. We're the external data guys, right?
Right.
The internal numbers inside of your bank and trying to learn from that and what you can do with that. And you run into the same issues every single time. And you hit a couple of them there, like normalization of data, different sources and structure of data. So when you put all this data together and it's like, here's what you learn from that. And trying to focus on things about a particular customer base or segment isn't necessarily the right answer, nearly as much as trying to understand where their barriers and pitfalls to access to your institution is, like what you guys are doing. That was really, really, really clever to be able to sit down and say 32% or 33%, or now we want to try to get that to 75% of people can access every one of these particular functions in a new way, and build out the whole, from the chat all the way to the account, or funding the loan or whatever, the whole process, not just parts of it. That was
the number one goal, was we're going to completely renovate the customer journey from, that's why we got the CRM. It's automated communication with the customer application. And there's a couple of holes that I'd still like to fill that aren't necessary, but could increase that. We want to be your primary bank. And I think that there's no banks are really doing it right to get that. So I think that'll be where we really start to innovate, is increasing that number very soon.
One more question. Tell me the number one thing that you've learned on the compliance side that you didn't know as a FinTech, company versus being an actual banker now.
Well, you added a stipulation there that made it to, I was just going to say, trust the compliance team. Yeah, I mean, I think it depends on the kind of business that you're in as a startup company to know what that compliance piece is. The biggest thing that I would say is that sometimes it's not even about whether something is compliant or right or not. It's really just about what the bank told the regulators they're going to do. And that's a confusing thing to wrap my head around. Was, yes, this is compliant, but because we told the regulators this is how we're doing it, we have to do it like that. And the only way to fix that is, change the process, retell them how you're going to do it, and have them confirm that way works. Sometimes it's not about actually following the rule. It's about following what you said you're going to do to follow the rule. And that's where banks, I think, kind of get stuck up and their processes kind of start to fall behind. Isn't because they're actually being held back by compliance, but they're being held back by the process they put in place to fulfill that compliance.
Final thoughts, man.
Something we're wrapping our head around is that, yes, we're a community bank, but we're at a point now where community isn't just your geography. Community is, community can be people that are like you or follow similar thoughts to you. And there's a lot of really cool banks that are really, really embracing that. And they are still community banks, even though they're fully digital and on the internet. Their community just lives in different places. So I think it's going to be a really fun 5 to 10 years. I think we're going to see a lot less banks, but I think we're going to see a lot more focused banks with technology built specifically for their community.
Yeah, when we talk about digital direct banks, or whether we talk about sponsor banks, like the issue you're hitting on right now, my phone rings off the wall all day.
All day
bankers want to get into this and learn how to do it. And to your point, those are the banks that are going to survive.
I agree.
Oh yeah, I think I would much rather. It's much easier to change banks to a bank that's built for you, and that's going to keep happening. And it's going to make it to where you got to build banks for specific people, or else you're going to be the one that people are leaving.
Well, all right, man. Well, hey, thanks for riding with the Cowboys today. One of my favorite
It was a
people in
blast.
the world, and one of that small group of people that's been on both sides of the fence and can see it all.